year of 1869. Well, I do realize that our city's population has grown to, and the mayor can contribute to this, 55,000 people. Who knew we would live in such a metropolis? Alas, we have also lost a great man in McGee just last year. Well, I am honored to help us make sense of all this and to understand where we are going as a new nation. I'm absolutely honored to introduce the newly knighted Sir John A. MacDonald.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would be remiss if I didn't also acknowledge the presence of some distinguished guests. Sir William McDougall, our member from Lanark and a fellow Father of Confederation. His Worship James Smith, Mayor of Toronto. And of course, Mrs. Price, who lost a son at Ridgeway with our Queen's own. Sorry. First, Your Worship, I note you've been taking in the press some pressure because you are appointed by council, not elected by the public. But I'd like to remind you all that this is a long-standing tradition in Toronto, that the Worship, the Mayor, is appointed by council. Only the last 3 have been elected by the public. And I think that's a long-standing tradition that will go on. I would forecast that 140 years from now, or more, say 2013, it would be likely that we would be appointing a mayor from council. Would you not agree, Your Worship? Now, I was asked to discuss some recent events, and I apologize for not being in this lovely city of Toronto more recently, but as many of you know, I've requested and was granted a special privilege to sit in on the trial for the killer, the assassin, Whelan, of our good friend McGee. And I'd like to talk to you tonight a little bit about McGee. I'd like to talk to you about what he meant to me and to Sir William. And I'd like to talk to you also about why he died. As you know, we have come a long way, but we're still new. We're still a young country. Now, Sir William was with me at all 3 meetings. Sir William, you were with me, as I recall, in Charlottetown in '64, in Quebec the same year, and you went with me to London, one of the 16 other delegates to London. We were there for 4 months. I think you may recall the time that my bed was set afire, that I had to take refuge in Cartier's suite. But we achieved our objective, and we came back with the approval to have a dominion. Well, that wasn't totally met without opposition. There were people in this country, and there are people in this country who opposed it. And one of the men who stood out in the process that we went through was McGee. McGee, as many of you know, started off as an Irish Catholic nationalist who wanted to have a republic in Ireland. And he went to the United States, and he spent many a time there for many years. And he learned over the years that republicanism wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. And he came to Canada. And he fell in love with our country, and he found that our way, the peaceful way, was better. Now, if we take a look back on the history of the republicanism in the Americas, it has been wrought with bloodshed. In '65, the Mexicans assassinated Maximilian. The United States was born from revolution. A few years after that revolution, they invaded us in 1812. Didn't work out so well for them, though. In 61 to 65, they had a civil war. And 5 days after, the Confederacy had surrendered to the Army of the Potomac, they assassinated President Lincoln. Now, McGee opposed this kind of thing. He was a man of peace. Sir William, how would you describe McGee? You knew him well.
Yes. McGee was a man of great eloquence, being Irish. And he had a sense of prophecy, too. And was the first to say, I can see this land stretching like the shield of Achilles, with a blue around it, from one sea to the other. Sad to say, he aroused the homicidal ire of Irish independence, but he inspired Canadians to be what we are and would become.
Well said, sir. He had the heart of a poet.
He did, and expressed it on paper.
Yes, yes. The sad thing was that McGee was about to resign his seat and leave politics. But before he could get home, we had a long night. You remember that night?
Yes.
We had a long discussion and debate in Parliament. And McGee went home to his Sparks Street address and was fumbling with his keys, with his cigar in his mouth and some papers in his hand, and was shot in the head by Patrick Whalen, who was a sympathizer of the Fenian Brotherhood. Now, we all know who they are. Irish nationalists who are from the United States, who fought with the Union Army in blue, and have invaded us now, to this date, 3 times. In Campobello, at Ridgeway, where you lost your son, Mom, and at Pigeon Hill, in Canada East. Why are they doing this, you say? Well, it sounds crazy, but they think that they can use Canada as a pawn, as a tool, to force the Crown into giving them a republic in Ireland. They have been unsuccessful thus far, but what worries me is that this has been done under the nose of our neighbors to the south, the United States. At Ridgeway, over 1,000 Fenians crossed the water to Fort Erie under the noses of the American authorities. 1,000 men with guns. And they attacked us. Queen's Own rifles defended, and sadly we lost 7 in battle. We had 2 more die of fatalities from the battle, and we had 23 wounded. This is serious. These are organized people. This is not a mob. They have a structure, they have a command, and they fight under a green banner. This is de facto an Irish Republican army that has invaded Canada. And mark my words, this will go on. And we must be ready. Mum, do you remember the song that the Fenians sing in battle?
Not very well, I do. We are the Fenian Brotherhood, skilled in the arts of war, and we're going to fight for Ireland, the land we adore. Many battles we have won, along with the boys in blue, and we'll go and capture Canada, for we've nothing else to do.
This is what they say. This is what they sing. They will be back, and we will be ready. But I'd like to give a few moments to McGee, because what McGee did and what McGee represents is important. When McGee became a member of Parliament, Montreal West, as I recall, sir, he mobilized the Irish Catholics to our cause, to the cause of a confederation that would be born from the pen and not the sword. He died a sad and unnecessary death. When we heard of it, we rushed from Parliament to his Sparks Street address. I cradled him in my arms, and we carried him into the apartment. You were there, I believe, sir. You remember this. But he was dead. But we must not have this happen again. This is not the kind of country that we need and we want. So, I'd like to propose a toast to our good friend, D'Arcy McGee. To McGee. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to propose a toast to Sir John A. MacDonald. To a fine intellect, a great leader, and the Father of Confederation, to Sir John A. MacDonald. And ladies and gentlemen, final toast.
Well, we have an actual champagne to
Oh, well.